Here I was already to jump into bed. Matter of fact, I had already jumped into bed. And as I was settling down and scoping a couple things out on Facebook and looking at some of the situation with things going on, suddenly came across this little piece of information that kind of sparked some very big realizations as things relate to this whole gun grab and the legislation that's coming down the pike of late. Now, this is particularly disturbing because when you look at some of the legislation being offered or suggested, at the surface root, it looks like a good idea. Well, until you back up and you take a broader picture view of some other things that are going on that people may not know about, so they don't consider it before they look at it and go, oh yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Maybe not so quick there, people. So I actually took the time to write this one up. So I'm going to be doing some reading, but I just did this a little bit earlier. And this one is, they're not trying to take your guns away. They just want to keep them from unstable people. So we were also happy with the way we got the dialogue to start changing about gun violence. People like Ron Paul, Jon Stewart, and others in lamestream media started coming out about the correlations of gun violence and psychotropic medications, or SRIs. Most of us thought government would actually use some common sense and clamp down a bit on big pharma. We were all about ready to pat each other on the back for the good job we'd done, but not so quick there, fellow diggers. Well, why not so quick? Well, if you know me, then you know my wide-angle view of situations and the big picture. Presently in Pennsylvania and other states, they're trying to stuff gun legislation down our throats, suggesting that we don't want them mentally unstable people to get guns or have them. Most people go like Goofy, nod their heads vigorously, and go along with the idea because to most, it sounds like a good idea, right? Sure does. Until you look at the wide full picture of the rest that's going on. How did we ever think, given our present government, that they'd really use common sense? QDSMB5. For those of you that didn't know, this is that nice little psychologist Bible that suggests the diagnosis and treatments of psychological disorders. Right now, we're living under DSM-V4, but with DSM-V5 hitting the horizon and coming to a psychologist near you, the number of mentally unstable could escalate quite quickly soon thereafter. It is estimated that a potential 50% of Americans could suddenly come under the medical terminology of mental disorders. And as such, that shiny new gun legislation they're trying to press nationwide to protect us from the mentally unstable, well, you get the picture. You didn't think they were really going to go after Big Pharma, did you? Hell, we all got duped a bit on that one. Should have known better given the crackpots we presently have in office. Not like they're going to go after the real roots of it. They'll just use it to push their disarmament agenda and have a larger pool of people to disarm to boot. Don't believe me? No worries. Read the rather lengthy article that explains DSM-V5 and how it's going to change the landscape of mental disorders. But don't get too hung up on the reasoning at the end of it. If you're awake, you can probably add a couple of your own and figure out which ones are propaganda BS. In this, if all that wasn't already enough, it gets worse. According to the communist goals of 1968, this psychology stuff plays right into their plan. Number 38 in the plan states, and I quote, transfer some of the powers of arrest from the police to social agencies. Treat all behavioral problems as psychiatric disorders, which no one but psychiatrists can understand or treat. And that is followed by a 39 that states, and I quote again, dominate the psychiatric profession and use mental health laws as a means of gaining coercive control over those who oppose communist goals. Sure does sound to me like someone is manipulating the works quite nicely, given what one reads earlier in that whole DSM-V5 write-up. Unfortunately, there's even more cause for worry as relates to all this psychological control through psychologists and big pharma medical intervention. Most states have laws allowing for the complete stripping of human rights via psychiatric admissions, where they can, through judges' orders, pick up a supposedly mentally unstable person and have them whisked away to a local mental center for observation. During such time, if psychologists find medication necessary, well, you get the picture. But wait, it still gets worse. Because if you're under care and tell your thoughts, thanks to the most recent barrage of Obama's executive orders, you lost your HIPAA rights too because of what doctors must now report to the government. In the end, it's all about a system of control. It's all about a system led by psychopaths and sociopaths that want to blame the woes on the people and a nation rather do the things needed to fix the root issues. While they convince us it's all our fault for our psychological incompetency, all the while they're foisting more and more drugs on us to fatten the big pharma elites. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain and the revolving door in D.C. where big pharma execs float in and out of government cabinet positions. Just more people farming from cradle to grave, and it's more profitable to drug people up than do anything that might cure them. For anyone familiar with the Protocols of Zion in Orwell's movie 1984, someone surely is using these things like playbooks to a master plan. For those that know the true roots of communism and the ones that know where the ones really pushing the gun laws come from, you know the root of our issues and where things stem from. Don't take my word for it. Follow the links that I'm going to post down below and find your own truths. In the end, it might just be a time to say no to government protection, given what happens anytime they supposedly do that, and how it's normally at the expense of more liberty instead of the expense of the rich elite. Just something for y'all to think about.